Today, we are counting down 7 Harley-Davidson motorcycles that dealers are trying to dump as fast as possible. Stick around because number 1 is so overpriced you won't believe they actually tried to sell it. Number 7, Harley-Davidson Livewire. We are kicking things off with a bike that was supposed to be the future of Harley-Davidson, but instead it became one of their biggest miscalculations ever. When Harley-Davidson first introduced the Livewire, it was supposed to be a revolutionary leap into the future, a high-performance electric motorcycle that would bring a new generation of riders into the Harley family. On paper, it had everything: a permanent magnet electric motor producing 105 horsepower and 86 pound-feet of torque, allowing it to launch from 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds. The battery range was 146 miles in the city and 70 miles on the highway, making it perfect for urban commuting. It also came packed with high-end Showa suspension, cornering ABS, and a 6-axis IMU for precision handling. Harley wasn't just dipping a toe into electric motorcycles, they were going all in. But there was one massive problem. Harley riders didn't want an electric motorcycle. From the very start, the Livewire struggled to find buyers. When it was released, it came with a jaw-dropping price tag of $29,799, making it more expensive than some of Harley's top-tier touring bikes. That price alone scared off most Harley employees. Harley eventually dropped the price to $22,000, but even with discounts, the bike still sat in dealerships untouched. One, because traditional Harley riders craved the rumble of a V-twin engine, the feel of shifting gears, and the raw mechanical soul of a gas-powered bike. The Livewire, it is completely silent. No signature Harley sound, no gear changes, just instant torque from a twist of the throttle. And then there was the charging issue. While the Livewire supports DC fast charging, most riders found it too inconvenient compared to refueling a gas bike. With a highway range of just 70 miles, the Livewire was fine for city commutes, but a deal breaker for anyone who loves long-distance riding. For dealerships, this became a huge problem. They were left with rows of unsold Livewires, and even with massive price cuts, they just couldn't move them. Harley even spun Livewire off as its own sub-brand to try and rebrand the bike, but the damage had already been done. Now Harley-Davidson is desperate to clear out remaining inventory, and dealerships are slashing prices just to get rid of them. And if you thought the Livewire was a flop, wait until you see the next bike. A budget Harley that was supposed to bring in new riders but ended up missing the mark completely. Number 6. Harley-Davidson Street 500 and 750. Harley-Davidson has spent years trying to bring in younger riders. They knew that their big touring bikes and heavyweight cruisers weren't ideal for beginners, so they created the Street 500 and 750. Affordable, lightweight, and perfect for city riding. Sounds like a great idea, right? Well, there is just one problem. Nobody wanted them. These bikes were meant to attract a new wave of riders, offering an entry-level Harley experience for those who weren't ready for a full-size cruiser. The Street 500 featured a 494 cubic centimeter engine, while the Street 750 stepped up to 749 cubic centimeters, both powered by Harley's liquid-cooled Revolution X engine. They were lightweight, had low seat heights, and came with a comfortable, beginner-friendly ride. On paper, they should have been a massive success. They were even used by Harley's own riding academy to train new motorcyclists. But despite all that, the Street Series turned into one of the biggest flops in Harley-Davidson history. At launch, the Street 500 started at $7,699, while the Street 750 was priced at $8,499. While those prices seemed reasonable, riders quickly realized that they weren't getting much for their money. The biggest issue? Build quality. Many owners complained that the Street models felt cheap, rattling parts, misaligned panels, and budget-level finishes. Unlike Harley's premium cruisers, which are known for their rock-solid construction, the Street 500 and 750 felt like entry-level bikes in the worst way possible. Then there was the styling. Harley tried to make these bikes look modern and stripped down, but they lacked the iconic Harley-Davidson presence. Traditional Harley riders thought they looked too plain, while younger riders were not drawn to the design either. And then came the competition. The Street 500 and 750 weren't just fighting against other Harleys, they were up against entry-level bikes from Honda, Yamaha, and Indian, all of which offered better performance, higher quality, and lower prices. Bikes like the Honda Rebel 500 and the Yamaha Bolt quickly became favorites for new riders, while the Street Series struggled to stand out. To make things worse, dealer support for these models was inconsistent. In some locations, dealerships prioritized their bigger, more expensive bikes, meaning potential buyers had a harder time finding parts and accessories. The result? Sales tanked. And now, Harley-Davidson is phasing out the Street 500 and 750 entirely, leaving dealerships desperate to sell off the remaining inventory before they become dead weight. Now, dealerships are doing everything they can to get rid of them, offering huge discounts just to clear out stock. And if you thought these beginner bikes were a misfire, wait until you see what Harley tried to do with number 5, a futuristic muscle cruiser that ended up lost in the mix. Number 5. Harley-Davidson FXDR 114. Harley-Davidson has built some of the most legendary cruisers in motorcycle history, but every once in a while they take a gamble on something radically different. Sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it crashes hard. The FXDR 114 was supposed to be a high-performance muscle cruiser that combined futuristic styling with Harley's trademark power, but instead it became a bike that dealers can't get rid of fast enough. When the FXDR 114 was launched, Harley marketed it as a modern power cruiser with aggressive styling, premium performance, and a bold attitude. It was powered by the Milwaukee 8 114 engine, delivering 119 pound-feet of torque, making it one of the most powerful Softail models at the time. It had an aluminum swing arm, a massive 240mm rear tire, and lightweight composite bodywork, all designed to give it a drag race-inspired look and feel. Harley wanted this bike to stand out from the crowd and appeal to riders who wanted a muscular, high-performance cruiser with modern styling. But there was one big problem. Nobody was buying it. The FXDR 114 was expensive right out of the gate, with a starting price of $18,999. At that price point, buyers expected a bike that could do it all: power, comfort, and versatility. But instead, they got a motorcycle that looked aggressive but didn't deliver where it mattered most. One of the biggest complaints? The riding position was uncomfortable for long rides. Harley gave the FXDR a low-slung, stretched-out stance with forward foot controls and a flat drag-style handlebar. While that setup looked great on a showroom floor, in real-world riding, it put too much strain on the back, wrists, and neck, especially on longer trips. Riders who bought the bike quickly realized it wasn't practical for daily riding or long-distance cruising. Then there was the handling issue. The FXDR was built for straight-line speed, but that massive 240mm rear tire made cornering a challenge. Riders found that it felt heavy and sluggish in tight turns, making it impractical for city riding or twisty roads. For a bike that was supposed to be a performance machine, it didn't handle nearly as well as people expected. And then came the biggest issue: competition. For the same price or less, riders could get bikes like the Indian Scout Bobber, the Yamaha V-Max, or even Harley's own Lowrider S, all of which offered better handling, better comfort, and just as much attitude. Even among Harley fans, the FXDR 114 felt like a bike that tried too hard to be something it wasn't. It had the look of a modern muscle cruiser, but it lacked the refinement and practicality that riders expected for nearly $19,000. The result? Dealerships were stuck with them. Sales never took off. And now, with Harley discontinuing the FXDR, dealers are offloading them with massive discounts just to clear space. The FXDR 114 had the power and the looks, but it just didn't deliver where it mattered most. And if you thought the FXDR was a failed experiment, wait until you see number 4, a bike that was ahead of its time but never truly found its place in Harley's lineup. Number 4, Harley-Davidson V-Rod. Some bikes are ahead of their time, but when a brand strays too far from its identity, things get messy. That's exactly what happened with the Harley-Davidson V-Rod, a bike that had performance, power, and a unique design, but never truly found its place in the Harley lineup. Now, dealers are still struggling to move these bikes even years after production stopped. The V-Rod was unlike anything Harley had built before. It was designed to compete with high-performance muscle cruisers and sport bikes, featuring a liquid-cooled 60-degree Revolution V-twin engine, a design co-developed with Porsche. That engine pumped out 120 horsepower and 84 pound-feet of torque, making it one of the fastest Harleys ever built. It also had an aluminum frame, drag-style handlebars, and a massive 240mm rear tire, giving it an aggressive stance. With a 0 to 60 time of just over 3.5 seconds, the V-Rod was a serious departure from the slow-revving, torque-heavy, air-cooled bikes Harley riders were used to. But that was exactly the problem. It didn't feel like a Harley. The V-Rod was too different from traditional Harleys for loyal fans to embrace it, yet it still wasn't quite enough to attract sport bike riders. It ended up caught between two worlds. Too modern for Harley purists, too heavy for performance riders. One of the biggest complaints? The engine didn't sound or feel like a Harley. Harley-Davidson is known for its deep rumbling V-twins, but the liquid-cooled Revolution engine had a higher revving, smoother character, which, to many riders, just didn't deliver that classic Harley soul. The bike also lacked the customization options that Harley riders love. There were fewer aftermarket parts, and modifying a V-Rod was far more expensive than customizing a Softail or a touring model. Then there was the range issue. The V-Rod came with a tiny 3.7-gallon fuel tank, which meant frequent stops for gas. Not exactly ideal for long-haul cruising. Riders who wanted a touring-friendly Harley had much better options, like the Road Glide or Street Glide, which offered more comfort, better storage, and significantly longer range. And, once again, competition played a role in its downfall. For nearly $17,000, riders could get a lighter, more agile, and cheaper performance cruiser from brands like Ducati, Yamaha, or Indian. The V-Rod was fast in a straight line, but when it came to overall rideability and comfort, there were better options out there. As a result, sales were disappointing, and after 15 years of trying to make the V-Rod work, Harley finally pulled the plug in 2017. But here's the thing, there are still V-Rods sitting in dealerships struggling to find buyers. The V-Rod was a bold experiment, but it never truly found its place in the Harley-Davidson lineup. It was too modern for Harley traditionalists and not sporty enough to pull riders away from performance brands. Add in a tiny gas tank, fewer customization options, and high competition, and it is no surprise that dealerships are still trying to unload these bikes. And if you thought the V-Rod had an identity crisis, wait until you see number 3, a Harley that tried to mix performance and style but ended up pleasing no one. Number 3, Harley-Davidson Street Rod. Harley-Davidson has always been about big, loud, and powerful cruisers, but every once in a while they try to step outside their comfort zone and build something different. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it completely backfires. The Street Rod was supposed to be a sportier, more aggressive version of the Street 750. Instead, it became one of the most forgettable Harleys ever made, and now, dealers are doing everything they can to get rid of them. The Street Rod was introduced as a high-performance alternative to the Street 750, aimed at younger riders who wanted a mix of cruiser attitude and sport bike handling. Harley gave it a reworked version of the Revolution X engine, boosting its power by 18%, making it faster and more responsive than the standard Street 750. It also got upgraded suspension with dual-disc front brakes, inverted front forks, and gas-charged rear shocks, making it one of the better-handling Harleys in its price range. The bike featured drag-style handlebars, a more aggressive seating position, and sportier 17-inch wheels with grippy tires. On paper, it seemed like a solid entry-level performance cruiser, but in reality, the Street Rod was a disaster. The biggest issue? The riding position was flat-out uncomfortable. Harley wanted to give the Street Rod a more aggressive, sporty stance, but they made a huge mistake. The raised foot pegs and compact frame created an awkward, cramped riding position, especially for taller riders. Instead of feeling agile and fun, the bike felt restrictive and unnatural, making longer rides uncomfortable. Then there was the styling problem. The Street Rod was meant to look modern and urban, but instead it ended up stuck between two worlds. It wasn't a true sport bike, it didn't have the classic Harley looking. Traditional Harley riders found it too generic, and sport bike riders found it generic. And then, of course, there was the competition. For its starting price of $8,999, riders had way better choices. The Honda CB 650R, Yamaha MT-07, and Kawasaki Z650 all deliver better performance, lighter weight, and more comfortable ergonomics, for the same or even less money. And just like the Street 500 and 750, quality issues hurt sales. Owners reported poor fit and finish, rattling parts, and a general lack of refinement, which only made the Street street rod's problems worse. Instead of feeling like an affordable performance Harley, it felt like a budget bike trying too hard to be something it wasn't. Now, Harley dealerships are stuck with leftover inventory, and they are slashing prices just to get these bikes off their floors. And if you thought the street rod was a mistake, just wait until you see number 2, a bike that was supposed to shake up the adventure touring world, but instead it stumbled right out of the gate. Number 2, Harley-Davidson Pan America. Harley-Davidson is known for cruisers and touring bikes, not adventure motorcycles, but in 2021 they shocked the world by introducing the Pan America, a full-blown ADV bike meant to take on legendary models like the BMW GS and KTM Adventure Series. It was a bold move, but here's the problem. It didn't exactly go as planned. And now dealerships are. The Harley-Davidson Pan America was a major departure from anything Harley had done before. Instead of a heavyweight cruiser, this was a high-tech adventure bike, loaded with features designed to compete with the best in the industry. It packed a Revolution Max 1250 engine, delivering 150 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque, making it one of the most powerful ADV bikes on the market. Harley also introduced some innovative features like adaptive ride height, which automatically lowered the seat when coming to a stop, making it more accessible to shorter riders. It had a 6.5-inch TFT touchscreen with navigation, multiple riding modes, and all the modern tech you would expect in a premium adventure bike. On paper, this bike should have been a huge success, but instead dealers are now slashing prices and trying to unload leftover inventory. So what went wrong? The biggest issue. Harley was stepping into a market where they had zero experience. Adventure riders are loyal to brands like BMW, KTM, and Honda, companies that have spent decades perfecting off-road capable motorcycles. When Harley entered the ADV segment, many riders were skeptical from the start. Would it hold up against the competition? Would Harley even support it long term? Then the first wave of bikes hit the streets, and problems started showing up. Early buyers reported electronic issues, rough low-speed handling, and strange suspension quirks. Some riders experienced glitches with the touchscreen display, while others complained about the bike's weight distribution feeling top-heavy and unstable at lower speeds. And while the adaptive ride height system was a cool innovation, some riders found it unreliable, especially in off-road situations. Then there was the competition. At a base price of $17,319, the Pan America was cheaper than a fully loaded BMW R1250 GS, but it still wasn't the obvious choice for most adventure riders. For just a bit more money, they could get a bike with a proven track record. The Pan America was a bold move by Harley, but in an extremely competitive market, it had too many early issues, too much skepticism, and not enough loyal buyers. While Harley has improved the bike since its launch, its rocky start left many dealers stuck with inventory they're now desperate to sell. And if you think Harley struggled with adventure bikes, wait until you see number 1, a motorcycle that was so overpriced, so out of touch, that it became the ultimate showroom ghost. Number 1, Harley-Davidson CVO Street Glide. We have seen overpriced Harleys on this list, but this is the ultimate example of Harley-Davidson pushing the limits of what riders are willing to pay. The CVO Street Glide is supposed to be the best of the best, the most luxurious high-tech touring bike Harley has ever built. But with an absolutely insane price tag, it's no surprise that dealers are struggling to sell them. And now, they're just trying to unload them before they sit on showroom floors forever. Harley-Davidson's custom vehicle operations, CVO lineup, has always been marketed as the pinnacle of performance, comfort, and style. That means premium paint jobs, high-end components, and exclusive factory customizations that you won't find on standard models. The CVO Street Glide packs a Milwaukee 8 121 engine, delivering 115 horsepower and 139 pound-feet of torque. It also features fully adjustable suspension, a state-of-the-art Rockford Fosgate sound system, and a 12.3-inch full-color touchscreen display loaded with Harley's latest infotainment system. On paper, this sounds like a dream bike. But here's the problem. It costs $50,000. Yes, $50,000 for For the price of 2 Street Glide specials, you get, well, a slightly fancier Street Glide, and that's exactly why dealerships can't move them. The biggest issue? Value for money. At $28,000, the Street Glide special gives you 90% of what the CVO version offers for nearly half the price. Sure, the CVO has a flashier paint job, a bigger touchscreen, and some extra luxury touches, but does that justify an additional $20,000? Most riders say absolutely not. Even Harley's most loyal customers are drawing the line on price. Spending that much money on a bike means you expect the absolute best, but many riders feel that Harley is just charging extra for exclusivity, not real performance upgrades. Then there's the resale issue. Unlike standard models, which hold their value well, CVO bikes lose value the second they leave the dealership. Why? Because most buyers looking for a premium Harley would rather customize their own Street Glide than pay a massive markup for factory-installed extras. And finally, there's the reality of the economy. With sales numbers dropping, dealerships are desperate to offload these bikes. Some have been offering major discounts just to move them, but even with price cuts, buyers aren't biting. The CVO Street Glide is a premium touring bike, but its $50,000 price tag has made it a tough sell, even for Harley's most devoted fans. With riders realizing they can get a similar experience for nearly half the price, dealerships are now scrambling to get rid of these bikes before they sit in showrooms for months on end. And that wraps up our list of 7 Harley-Davidson motorcycles that dealerships are trying to dump as soon as possible. Do you agree with our list? Have you seen any of these bikes collecting dust at your local dealership? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe for more Harley-Davidson content and hit the like button to support the channel. Thanks for watching. Ride safe, and we'll see you in the next one.